Definitely think silver will get to triple digits. I'm not going to say it might. I think it will, and it's going to keep surprising everyone. It's going to keep surprising the Bitcoin crowd who keep saying the best trade is to sell silver and buy Bitcoin. I think it's the other way around. And in terms of price, yeah, I think we could get into like even above 200 eventually next year. It's not far fetched, and one of the reasons why is because, as Taylor said, silver has been suppressed the price for so long, for like 45, 50 years, and you probably all know about this cup and handle formation, which we've broken out of in silver recently. I think it was October. I mean, silver, looking at some numbers here, is the best performing of all the precious and base metals this year to date, despite the correction we're having today as we speak. It's still up 143%, which, if you had told me that beginning of the year, I would have been very happy with, but not too convinced that it would happen. So I think silver has basically surprised everyone on the upside, and it's going to keep surprising everyone on the upside. And I think the volatility we've seen Friday and today is mainly due to a thin market. So I think the correction that we've had today could be over very quickly. And I think the reason, yeah, silver is moving higher is that people are starting to realize things that we've been looking at, both you and both of you and I have been looking at for years now, all the supply deficits every year. The fact that silver is like a really important mineral or metal for industry, and that there's also a monetary aspect to it. So I think that it's suddenly becoming people are waking up to it, and that's why I think silver has done so well. And it's caught the mainstream bankers by surprise because they've controlled the silver market with paper for many decades. And you can't really build electric vehicles, like batteries and everything else with futures. You have to do it with real metal. And I think that's the story for silver so far. Well, this year, and I think it's going to continue going forward. I definitely think silver will get to triple digits. I'm not going to say it might. I think it will, and it's going to keep surprising everyone. It's going to keep surprising the Bitcoin crowd who keep saying the best trade is to sell silver and buy Bitcoin. I think it's the other way around. And in terms of price, yeah, I think we could get into like even above 200 eventually next year. It's not far fetched, and one of the reasons why is because, as Taylor said, silver has been suppressed the price for so long, for like 45, 50 years, and you probably all know about this cup and handle formation, which we've broken out of in silver recently. I think it was October, and gold did the same thing like a year and a half or two ago. And look at what happened to gold. The level there was 2070, 2100, and gold exploded higher. And so I think there's a lot of room for silver on the upside as well. So yeah, I'm quite optimistic about the gold price, which basically means the dollar and all other fiat currencies are going down. But the world, the powers that be, they need weaker currencies because the debt load is so huge, especially in 2026. We're going to see a lot of borrowers, especially the U.S. Treasury, have to roll over all the cheap debt that they issued in 2021 in the during COVID, when they really like pushed rates artificially low. So I think that's the only way out they have to allow the metals to debase their currencies. It makes everything, well, it makes the debt easier to carry. If anything, maybe a little bit gold. Gold is much more has much more attention upon it, and I'm not exuberant about silver because I've been buying silver since 2003, and it's been frustrating. And finally, it's like catching up with gold. It's broken that 50 level. And I think a lot of people out there on X, for example, who say, well, all the searches for silver, it's a top. Uh, they're assuming people are exuberant. They're assuming that it's the public that's buying silver. But I think it's just us in our echo chamber. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that because we've known it all along that silver is completely suppressed and undervalued. Even like at 15 to 1 right now, should be around $300. So I still think it's undervalued. And I think a lot of the general public out there, even people who are in finance, they have no clue that the way the silver market operates, how the bullion banks have used paper to suppress the price, especially on COMEX and LBMA. And they don't realize that this scheme is unraveling now because the rest of the world, especially BRICS, they don't trust the West anymore, especially the US, because of what happened in 2022 and what's happening now with all the tariffs, all the sanctions. So they're not gonna, if they want silver, they're gonna buy the real thing. And I think the reason silver's gone up is because of that, not because the public is buying silver. The public will come in probably when it's like above 200. So yeah, I think there's still a long way to go, and I don't think there's any FOMO. I think the FOMO is in the bullion banks. They're trying their darndest to cover their shorts, and that's why the it looks like there's FOMO, but there isn't. And the big buyers, like central banks in the Middle East, they're just waiting for the paper smashes because they know the game now. And that's the good thing as well, maybe about this AI guy that's come out. He does make up a lot of things, I think, and extrapolate many things, but he does explain well what has happened to silver. But not only him, I think channels like ours have been explaining to people for years now, and people listen to us. And so, whenever the bullion banks smash silver of late, it goes back up really quickly because these big central banks they come in and buy the physical, and they're going to continue to do that. So that's the way I see it.
Despite the headlines and social media noise, this is not a retail-driven mania. Broad public participation typically shows up much later in commodity cycles, often only after prices have already moved substantially higher. For now, enthusiasm remains concentrated among informed participants who have tracked silver's undervaluation for years. Even at current levels, silver is still historically cheap relative to gold. Many investors don't yet understand how the silver market actually works or why it has lagged for so long. The real urgency appears to be coming from institutions and bullion banks scrambling to manage short exposure. Genuine public FOMO, if it emerges at all, is more likely a future development, not something unfolding today.
Gold back system. I think BRICS are working. BRICS and also countries like the Gulf cooperation countries, like the Persian Gulf or Arabian Gulf, whatever you want to call it. And I think they're also going to bring in silver as part of the monetary architecture. But sticking to gold, yeah, I think the fact that they're also building vaults, like in Saudi Arabia and other places, tells me that this gold is going to move around. It's going to be used to settle surpluses and deficits, current account. And yeah, I think we're going back to a kind of 19th century gold standard where you had different currencies. Of course, sterling was the strongest currency because it was the strongest economy. So probably the Chinese currency will be the strongest, but you have to have gold. And I think the BRICS and the countries that are close to BRICS, they're looking at 40%, I think, backing for their currency, which is I think is more than enough because during the 19th century, during the heights of the British Empire, it was about a third here in the UK. So yeah, the prospects for gold are good in that sense, in the geopolitical sense. I think, as Secretary of State Marco Rubio said, I think right when he took office, we're not in a unipolar world anymore. We're in a multipolar world. And I don't think the Americans, especially the Trump administration, wants a very strong dollar. He needs the dollar weak. Uh, and I think the US economy is not doing as well as GDP tells you. I think a lot of that GDP growth is coming from these data centers for AI. And next week, we've got non-farm payroll. I think that's going to be a very weak number. And that's going to help gold too, because the Fed will have to put the foot on the pedal and inject a lot of liquidity. And they're going to cut rates aggressively, I think, this year, and that's going to put a rocket up the gold price. That so, yeah, I think gold looks really good. We doubled. I mean, we've doubled in the last 2 years. Why can't we double in the next 12 to 18 months?
Beyond silver, gold is signaling a deeper shift in the global monetary order. Surging debt, weakening currencies, and accelerating geopolitical fragmentation are pushing nations toward neutral settlement assets. BRICS-aligned countries in parts of the Middle East are expanding gold reserves and investing in new vault infrastructure, suggesting preparations for a system in which gold once again plays a role in settling trade imbalances. History offers a clear parallel in the 19th century gold standard, where multiple currencies coexisted but were ultimately anchored to metal. In today's emerging multipolar world, gold, and potentially silver, is regaining relevance as confidence in fiat systems erodes under the weight of debt and political strain.
I mean, if you look back to pre-1971, we were at $35, and by 1980, we were at almost 900, and then we stayed between 400 and 250. I don't see why it couldn't go to 10,000. The world would still be, it's just a reflection of the world being a more turbulent and chaotic place. But I think nowadays, so few people understand the importance of gold that they'll be able to allow gold to go up that much. So I don't see a problem. Maybe if it goes to 250,000, like in a year's time, then there's a problem. But 10,000 is like, I don't think it's a problem. I think it's linked to gold because it's a hard asset, not because of it being having some monetary quality. And if you look at all the metals this year, with the exception of one or two that are up only like single digits, they're all up double digits. And the Bloomberg Commodity Index as well, that's taking off and breaking out. I think it's a reflection of the fact that we're going to have a lot of inflation because the central banks have no other option. So platinum, yeah, is going to benefit from it because all these commodities, all these metals, you can't create them out of thin air, and more and more people are realizing that is the case. So that's why I think platinum is, and gold. Gold is the leader. It always starts before. It did that in 2020, and it's doing it in the last couple of years.
Central banks are walking a narrow path. Heavy debt burdens make prolonged monetary tightening unsustainable, increasing the odds of renewed liquidity injections and eventual rate cuts. That backdrop has historically favored hard assets. Gold has already taken the lead, often the first indicator in inflationary cycles, with silver and other commodities following. broad commodity indices are breaking higher, underscoring a simple reality. Physical resources cannot be created at will. Copper, platinum, and others stand to benefit as electrification and infrastructure spending accelerate. Yet monetary metals remain at the core. In an inflationary and unstable world, gold and silver are not anomalies. They are signals.
Copper actually does have some monetary qualities. I've heard from people that I speak to that countries in Africa accept copper as a form of payment for their natural resources. But if you look back at the 70s, we had a similar scenario of inflation. The best performers were gold and silver. So I'm going to stick to gold and silver. I think copper could do well. So could the other commodities. But yeah, it's probably a good thing to diversify a little bit, but I'm sticking to the monetary commodities because that's what I focus on. But it's not to say that copper won't do well. Copper is a really important part of the economy, and with the electrification of things, copper is going to be even more important, just like silver. But yeah, so that's how I see copper.